SMU has a clear talent advantage over Cal, and a fast start, even on the road, should swing this game quickly in SMU's favor.
You are Locked On SMU, your daily podcast on the SMU Mustangs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On SMU, a Friday edition of the daily podcast covering SMU Mustangs, football, basketball, and all the other relevant sports going on in SMU athletics. We are the number one sports podcast network that is available, the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Hope everybody had a wonderful and happy Thanksgiving as we check in here on a Friday. I'm Grayson Singleton, and coming up on our show today, you can't get caught looking forward. You got to maintain your focus in this game against Cal on Saturday night. And then if you take care of business, you've got everything out in front of you from there. Plus, Scott Symons on Wednesday morning was announced as a Broyles Award finalist. So we'll give the DC his flowers at the end of the show. But first, let's go ahead and start out with this. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Keys to the game. And I mentioned this in the open, that SMU with a fast start should turn the tenor of this game in the Mustangs' favor. And I 100% believe that. I really do. I think that even though they're on the road, the way SMU has advantages over Cal, if the Mustangs come in focused and disciplined and execute to the level that they executed against Louisville, this game is over quick. And why do I think that? Because the Mustangs have a clear advantage on the ground and in the trenches. Cal on defense is a little bit light in the trenches. SMU found a way to get back to running the football effectively against Louisville. 5 yards a carry is what SMU averaged against Louisville. Cal is one of the worst teams in the ACC against the run on defense. So you set up a clear advantage there. Now, why do I think that this is the advantage that SMU should lean on? Quite frankly, it's because you're on the road. You're on the road. You're halfway across the country, right? Okay, so we know that certain things and there's variables about what translates and what doesn't when you go on the road. But usually when you're a good football team, defense and run game can travel. Defense and you tell 5 dudes, fire off the ball and we'll run it, and then we can do it as something to set up everything else, or we can do it to work ourselves into the game to where everything else can eventually work well off of it. Either way you slice it, good teams run the football on the road, especially when that team that they are on the road against is susceptible to the run. So I'm looking at that. Also defensively, you are one of the best, if not the best, in the country in taking the football away. You get after the passer. You're hard to run the football against, and you're going up against a team that doesn't run it very well in Cal. This should be a game, even defensively, where you get after the freshman quarterback, right? Get after him, cause some turnovers, make it seem as if, yep, this offense just isn't going to have a whole lot of life to it. That's what I'm looking at right now, and that's the matchup offensively and defensively. So can you throw a punch early if you're SMU? That's key to the game, number one, because I believe that if you run the ball down their throat and score on the opening drive, and then you get after the starting quarterback on the ensuing possession, or whichever way the order ends up working out, you get after them early. I just don't think this is a Cal team that's going to have a whole lot of life left to be able to try to compete. Exact same thing I talked about with Louisville. So that's number one. Number two, you got to win the turnover battle. Okay, that's the one way Cal can stay in this game, I think, is that if offensively you don't execute and you give them a chance to take the football away. Coach Lashley talked about it in his presser. We talked about it on Wednesday's episode, that this is a team, especially in the secondary, that loves to go after the football and loves to take the football away if you give them the opportunity. So I think the turnover battle is the one thing really that can keep the Golden Bears in this game. So if you take the football away like you have been the best at in the country in doing so, 27 turnovers over the course of the first 11 games of the regular season. That's over 2 per game, almost 3, right? So take the football away and keep it. take the football away, take care of the football. I think that goes a long way toward SMU winning this game, right? Because if Cal is taking the ball away, right, not only are they setting themselves up in better scoring opportunities, but you just surrendered a chance for yourself to put points on the board. And I know that's a more basketball type of way to look at things, but it is true in football, is that you've now killed your chance to score the ball, and then you lost control over where you place the other team for them to get the ball, right? So got to make sure that SMU in the turnover battle is winning that. So we're starting out fast. We're taking care of the football and we're taking the ball away. My number 3 takeaway, to be quite frank with you, is get this thing over with, right? Get it over with. Now, why do I say that? Because I use the phrase kill an ant with a sledgehammer. I've used that a couple of times on this podcast. Wake Forest, didn't do that. And bam, the Wake Forest game is the epitome of why I'm saying this. If you let a team that you are better than, that you have more talent than, that you have more to play for than, you let a team hang around, sometimes they'll bite you. And it bit them against Wake Forest, right? The stakes for this game are not nearly as high if SMU doesn't lose that game to Wake Forest, right? SMU pretty much is in the ACC Championship game if everything that has played out since then plays out the same and SMU just wins that game, right? Because at that point, you have no losses in the conference. So then you would be the only team that would apply to. So you would already be in. But it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen that way. But you are still in a similar situation where SMU is the better team. They got a better quarterback. They've got a better coaching staff because, I don't know, the other team just fired their coach. They got a better run game. They've got a better offensive defensive line. They got better wide receivers and whatnot. SMU is clearly the better team. They are the team that is playing for a chance to go to the ACC Championship game and subsequently the college football playoff. So you got more talent. You got more to play for. You got a better coaching staff. You cannot let this team at home hang around, right? And it's going to be their senior day, and their seniors are going to want to go out in a big-time way, and what better way than to spoil another team's chances to get to the conference championship, right? So you got to make sure that you put them away as fast as possible. And the quick start will go toward that. Like, if you're up 21-3, 24-7 at the break, Cal's not coming back from that, right? They just had a tumultuous weekend where they got bludgeoned on the ground and then fired a coach. They're not going to come back from 17 points down. So put this team away early. Don't make mistakes and have bad rhythm and bad play calls that allow a team to hang around, right? Don't do that. So start out quickly, win the turnover battle, and I'd like to see them win it decisively too, by at least a margin of 2, and put this team away quickly. You do all those things, they all will build upon each other, right? You should be good to go. And you would have punched your ticket back to the conference championship game for the second time in your existence in the ACC. Don't know how many other teams can say that when they've made a move between conferences. All right, coming up next. Don't look forward, though. Wait, I told you how they can win the game, but sometimes the battle starts before the ball is even kicked off. We'll talk about that on the other side. Keep it here. Locked on SMU on a Friday. The holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here and the deals are huge. The quality is exactly what you hope for. Incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cooking that much easier. Honestly, it's the kind of gift that brings people together, and you don't need to guess anyone's size. Save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an additional 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code college. Terms apply. See site for details. All right, welcome back to the show. Locked on SMU here on a Friday. Grayson Singleton here with you. We are the #1 sports podcast network that is available. Appreciate all of you who tune in on YouTube and on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, subscribe to the show from wherever you are listening. Okay, sometimes the battle between these games is won and lost even before kickoff, right? And we talk about the mental side of sports. Got to maintain focus all throughout the week, right? In your preparation, in your details and whatnot. And I thought Rhett Lashley sounded optimistic about how his team has focused and their level of preparation and their connectivity with each other throughout the course of the week. Like it was good to hear that he had some positive things to say about that. But when it comes to these games, and I talk about this all the time with the other teams that I cover as part of my day-to-day life as well, you can't overlook anybody. You just can't go through the week with that type of mindset. And this, to me, is going to be a challenge for the coaching staff, too, in terms of not looking at the result before you go through the process, right? Because we already know what SMU's result is going to be if they win this game. If they win this game, they are in Charlotte for the ACC Championship game on December 6th. We all know that. They know that. The staff knows it. Cal knows it. Everybody who is remotely invested in college football is going to know that. The danger in this game, I'm telling you, the danger in this game is going to be looking for the prize before you do the work. Looking toward what is to come before you take care of what is now. That's going to be my chief concern for this SMU team, because I have no doubts that if talent was all that won this game, and if execution was all that won this game, and if coaching was all that won this game, SMU would win this game. Hands down. If that was all it is, if you had to remove the mental preparation and the magnitude of being focused and detail-oriented throughout the week, if you had to remove all of that, hell, if you removed the stakes of this game, if you removed the fact that SMU would play for an ACC championship game after this one, if the Mustangs are to win, I have no doubt, zero doubt, that SMU would win this game, barring catastrophic injuries, right? But that's not the world we're living in right now. The world we're living in right now is that it is well known that the Mustangs win and they're into the ACC championship. And you can't get caught looking ahead, because that's how you end up being smacked in the mouth and being in a dogfight that you otherwise would not have been in. And then if you do let that team hang around for 4 quarters, Lord knows what happens. You're one big play, you're one coverage bust, you're one, play away from losing it all, right? So that's why if you're SMU and if you're the staff and if you're coach, if you're everybody, you have to make sure, and it takes a cognizant effort with this. You have to make sure that you are dialed in to this game and this game alone. You can't get caught looking forward. This isn't one where you overlook Cal. And by the way, it's easy to overlook Cal. Cal's not a program in terms of football that has been relevant for quite a while, to be quite honest with you. Like, we haven't really thought of them that much. There's that. There's the fact that they're not even very good right now anyway. I mean, like, it's so easy. It's going to be so easy. I'm telling you. I mean, because we inundate, those of us that talk about SMU in the media, I know SMU doesn't get a whole lot of national attention, so that may undercut my point. But those of us that cover the Mustangs on a daily basis, I've seen writers, I've seen, myself is guilty of this as well. I'm pretty sure people who talk about the ACC, Eric McLean, a dude who has been, just going after, propping up SMU. I can't really, for some reason, I can't think of the word that I wanted to use. But you know what I'm saying here. Those people who have said, look at SMU, 2 years in the conference, and they're on the precipice of making it to the conference championship for a second time. Right. Like, you're inundated with it. My fault included. You're inundated with it. But you got to shield all that out. You can't let it overtake you to where we look past Cal. Right? Crusading for SMU is the word I was looking for. I don't know why that one slipped out of my head. But you have all of us propping up the Mustangs and saying, look at this, and look at this turnaround, and look at what Red Lashley has built, and look at what they're doing on recruiting, and look at them about to be in the ACC Championship game. It's really easy to have a whoopsie, right? And you're going to be able to tell real fast. You'll be able to tell very quickly in this game how dialed into the week SMU was. And look, maybe they are so much superior in terms of talent that they'll be able to get away with it if they do get caught looking ahead. And by the way, if you do, that's not a detriment on your character or anything like that. It's human nature, right? But it just underscores the fact that you have to make a cognizant, precise effort to stay in the here and now and not count your chickens before they hatch. If SMU gets back to the ACC Championship game, they will have earned that because they went through a regular season, went 7-1 in the conference, and earned their way back to the championship game. And that's where you want to be. You want to be where you've earned it. And because there is such a just an emotional boost when you know and you finally reach something that you know you've earned, it makes you want to go do the work and earn it. So I do think that the Mustangs are going to be just fine here. But that's always the danger with these games like these, is that you start looking ahead a little bit too early. That would be my only concern. Because otherwise, I think this team's going to be just fine. I think they execute at a high level. I think they prepare at a high level. Last week's game is exhibit A of that. They've gotten better over the course of the season at a lot of positions. They're the healthiest they've been in a while, quite frankly. And they got everything out in front of them. I think they're going to be fine. But man, oh man, it's going to be a challenge for them to make sure that they don't look too far ahead before they take care of the present. Once you do take care of the present, enjoy it, and then you'll be headed back off to Charlotte. But not before then. Take care of your business. Coming up next, we'll round out the show talking about Scott Symons, one guy who has definitely handled his business this year and handled business during his time at SMU. We'll talk about that on the other side on Locked On SMU. We're brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything, from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at an even bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Hey, and right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, final segment. Let's close it up for the week before we send us into Saturday and we watch the Mustangs take on Cal. And the last thing I want to say this week is major props to defensive coordinator Scott Symons. Scott Symons was named a finalist for the Broyles Award on Wednesday morning. And again, we didn't have a show on Thursday because of Thanksgiving, but he was named the Broyles Award finalist, best assistant coach in the country. And what Scott Symons has done with this defense has been absolutely outstanding, right? You look at where SMU ranks in the ACC. In terms of rushing defense, third. In terms of total defense, SMU is a little bit in the middle of the pack, but in terms of scoring defense as well. Not only is SMU third in the ACC in scoring defense, there are only 14 Power 4 schools that hold teams to fewer points per game than the Mustangs. So he is right there in the top quarter, maybe even top 10%. Really, that is borderline top 10% in terms of allowing teams to score. SMU leads the country in turnovers. In terms of sacks, they forced 27 turnovers on the season. In terms of sacks, they've brought down the quarterback 35 times, over 3 times a game. This defense has been impressive. And by the way, it's not a one-hit wonder either, because they did the exact same thing last year too. Now, they didn't force as many turnovers, but they were equally as good against the run. They were very good at getting after the passer, and now they're starting to send people to the pros too. I mean, you just look at the improvement of some of these guys. Ahmad Moses, really, really good player. 5 interceptions and a touchdown on the year to go along with a sack and 81 tackles. Isaiah Okobia has taken the football away at times. He's figured out what to do with the secondary. You remember this? And I think this is Scott Symons' best work. That secondary was a colossal mess at the beginning of the season. Now, is it all fine and good and great now? Okay, no. Like, that is true. It's not. It's not a great secondary. But he tinkered with things and moved things around for what worked at the time. And then once they got a functioning 2 deep, remember Rhett Lashley talked about that earlier on in the season, maybe about a month and a half ago or so, right? Once they got a functioning 2 deep, that's when everything started to change, once they got some continuity. But it took Scott Symons having to move some things around and try some different things to actually get the back end of the defense to work. But ultimately, over the course of the entirety of the season, right, SMU's front 7, or front 6 rather, has been awesome. And you've seen the emergence of Brandon Booker, and Alex Kilgore is playing better at linebacker. Brandon Maizano looks like he's going to be a future star at linebacker. And then come on now with the front 4, man, with Isaiah Smith and Cam Robertson and Jeffrey Imbaugh and Terry Webb and DJ Warner, right? I mean, these are dudes that have stopped the run and they have gotten after the passer. I mean, really, name one thing SMU doesn't do well on defense, right? Get after the quarterback, check. Stop the run, check. Stop the pass. Okay, maybe they don't stop the pass very well, but they have 17 interceptions on the year. Like, that's a pretty dang good number, right? So they've done everything. So they played well against the pass. They've taken the ball away. They've got after the quarterback. They've stopped the run. And they do defense. There's 2 ways you can do defense. Remember this. If you're a good defense and a really good defense, there's 2 ways teams usually do it. Either you're just suffocating, thinking Ohio State, thinking Oklahoma, or you can play bend but don't break, right? You just don't give up a lot of points. Now, SMU leans more in that second way, but they've done the suffocating thing too. Like, they have suffocated for quarters and for halves on end. And Scott Symons has just taken this defense through a journey. I always think of a football season, especially, man, as a journey, right? Because the season's so long, guys get hurt, and that's the one thing I did leave out too, is they have played through a lot of injuries. They have had a lot of dudes miss time for whatever reason, multiple weeks on end. They've had DBs in and out. Alex Kilgore and Zakai Barker were missing time at the beginning of the year. Cam Robertson just returned from a multi-game absence, right? So they've had dudes that have been in and out of the lineup, which necessitated some of the shifting in the secondary, especially at the beginning of the year. But, the reality of the situation is, no matter the case, if SMU needs to get stops on the other team's side of the field, they can do it. If SMU needs to really hunker down and have a goal line stand on 4th down, they've done that. If they need to force field goals instead of touchdowns, they've done that. Either way you want to play good defense, SMU's played good defense. SMU has played really good defense, no matter how they need to do it. Taking the football away, making sure you don't put it in the end zone, getting after the quarterback and making him uncomfortable. They've done it all. So, Scott Symons, an absolutely worthy dude for the Broyles Award as a finalist. So, congratulations to the SMU DC. He's been awesome. His unit has been awesome. I'm interested to see if that unit is going to be good enough to win you the game against Cal and really make some noise potentially in the ACC Championship game. Because now it seems like for the first time, this unit is fully loaded and everything's on go. Like, doesn't it seem that way? It just seems that way to me, that they are fully loaded finally for the first time this season. And right on cue, right when you need it to be. All right, that'll do it for this Friday edition of Locked On SMU. Appreciate all of you guys making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On ACC with Kenton Gibbs and Alex Dono. They'll take you through all the intrigue of the ACC, from the conferences from the conference championships to the rivalries and everything. Locked On ACC has got you covered on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, just like this one. Appreciate you guys listening. Go Mustangs as they take on Cal. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Take it easy, everybody.